Hey, welcome back, everybody. So, questions coming in on Twitter at the hashtag RTE3. Somebody wanted to know, Neo Brat wanted to know, have any games yet received Sean Poole's stamp of approval with his $1 1 hour system?
No, but that's not a bad thing. It's okay, because Sean Poole's rule is kind of dumb. We don't like to tell him that, but I know it's $1 1 hour for gameplay. I think there may be exceptions. For example, Ratchet and Clank, I might be that exception.
Right. Of course, joining us on stage, we have Bruce Green from Funhouse, and then we have, like you said, a contender now. This is a $40 title, right?
Yeah.
This could be a heavy contender for Spool's $1 1 hour.
Yeah.
We have James and Chad from Insomniac who are showing us live Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah. That's it.
Super excited. So you guys announced this at the same time you announced your movie last E3. I mean, you guys are doing a movie. Is it nervous? Like, does it make you nervous at all that there are so many game movies out that sort of fall a little bit shy of what you would consider a great movie, or does the fact that you're making a game and a movie at the same time help that?
Yeah, you know what? That's the reputation game movies have, right? But I got to tell you, the group that started the Ratchet and Clank movie were amazing about talking to us and kind of being like respectful about what we love about the characters in the world. So we saw like in the early going that we had something really special with that partnership, and probably because of that, the game and the film kind of came up at the same time. So this is a real co-development where the two of them are sharing, models, shaders, set pieces, but even way beyond that, they're sharing a story arc. So what we can do is we're telling the same much deeper version of.
That's okay, James.
All right,
That's
it's all right.
okay.
It's not a big deal.
James has been drinking, by the way. As always. No, we can tell this much deeper version of Ratchet and Clank's origin story, but really like have it all sync up so that you kind of get like two versions of events when you get the game and the film together.
Yeah, and the game is a retelling of their origin story, so it helps introduce people who are not familiar with the series in the past. They get the movie and they get the new gameplay experience. It's a great way to draw new people in. I was an Xbox gamer for my early video game career, and so I didn't get a chance to play a lot of Ratchet Clank back in the early days.
Right.
But I know a ton of people are super excited about this coming out.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, and that's exactly what we want. I mean, this is a game that we made for Ratchet and Clank fans to go back and re-experience the game in a brand new way, because it is a new game. I mean, when we started this out, at no point did we ever say, oh, we just want to do a remaster, or we just want to up-res everything. Rather we said, let's go in and do things we've always wanted to do.
Yeah, which is nice considering how many HD remasters there are. It seems like new games at the moment are, I mean, they come out,
Sure.
but they're not as frequent. There's just so many up-reses that are happening.
I'm
Right. So yeah, we saw this as a chance to kind of base the game on the PlayStation 2 original in certain elements, kind of like tell the story that everybody loves. But then get back in. We've got new planets going on. We've got new weapons. Some people are going to practice the Metropolis train segment a little bit, like James Stevenson. No,
first time I've died. Period.
That train segment was in the first game, but now it's like all brand new gameplay setups, and we've gone back and modernized the controls and taken a look at everything to kind of bring it up to our current best stuff.
Now, along with Burnie, I'm brand new to the Ratchet and Clank franchise. I was sort of trying to keep up with it, but I never could. So the reboots got me really excited, especially now the movies come out at the same time. In terms of gameplay, what kind of mechanics are we looking at for Ratchet and Clank that would excite me, somebody brand new to the franchise?
Well, I mean, with Ratchet and Clank, it always starts with the weapon arsenal, right?
Yes,
so
yeah.
You've got your massive arsenal of new things. Like James is using the pixelizer.
The pixel gun
right
is the
now.
coolest thing in the world.
I love the pixel
Yeah,
stuff.
I love it.
Thank you. So yeah, that turns enemies into 8-bit pixels, which are actually physics-based voxels. So it looks like it's really primitive, but there's actually a lot going on under the hood with that one. We've got this arsenal that's like a whole lot of brand new weapons, but also some old favorites that we rebuilt from the ground up, knowing what we know now about modern controls and how to make Ratchet feel really great to play.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and this is actually Planet Gaspar, and this is the live playthrough debut of this particular planet.
Oh, wow.
We just started showing it around this
You
week.
hear that, guys? we got a debut.
So,
and there's a question from Twitter from Andy Beach. He wants to know, what is the release date for Ratchet and Clank in the UK? Will it have a different release date?
So I don't have a game release date. The main thing I can say is that the film is coming out in April 29th in North America, and we're looking to have the game come out in proximity with the film
Sure, that makes
complement each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and the April release date's interesting to me because, like you were saying with video game movies, that in the past they don't have a great reputation, but we're seeing a new generation of video game movies where the developers and the people who make the games great are involved with the process of making the movies as well. That hasn't always been the case.
Right.
And I think it's going to herald in a new generation of video game movies. I'm hoping video game movies can be the next superhero movies where they just kind of take over. And you guys were going to come out after the World of Warcraft movie, but now it looks like you're going to come out before the World of Warcraft movie because they got pushed because of Star Wars.
Right.
sure.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping someone can really, crack that shell.
It should be that way, right?
I totally agree. Yeah.
Is the Warcraft movie May or is it March? Or
No, I don't know.
It definitely.
I know it's not December.
It definitely ran away from Star Wars, but I don't remember its exact due date.
And will this be a movie? I mean, can you say? I know it's tough to talk about release plans for movies, but it's Focus that you're working on with the movie, Focus Features?
Yeah, Focus Features will be releasing in North America, and we'll have international partners too. So that's all coming together, and we'll start having international dates for the movie sometime in the near future. So fans in the UK and elsewhere should pay attention because we'll have dates for them in the hopefully not too distant future.
Wow, so Ratchet Clank in theaters.
In theaters.
Yeah.
So I saw one of the writers for Ratchet & Clank has been working at Insomniac for a while, TJ Fixman.
Yes.
Also, he wrote the movie and the game, correct? For both of them?
So he wrote the original story for the movie, and then he wrote most of the game and a lot of the dialogue for the game as well. So he's had his hand on both. And
that's great.
The thing about the game is it definitely follows the story of the film, but it's slightly different as well. You have Captain Cork, who is kind of a long-time character in the series. He's sort of a bumbling character,
right?
And he has his very own take on the events that happen in the movie. And so when you're playing the game, you're going to get his version of the movie. And
okay.
We couldn't hear it here, but maybe folks at home did. Captain Cork was narrating parts of this level and explaining things that Ratchet is doing in his own way, basically trying to take credit for Ratchet's successes like he always does.
At this point, I mean, like, Ratchet's the actual hero of the game, but Cork thinks he's the hero, right?
That's always the way.
Yeah, that's the way this is going.
Right.
I like that.
Well, here's the endorsement here. Tree of Life on Twitter has said, whoa, spelled wrong, of course. Ratchet and Clank was a big chunk of my childhood, so seeing this is amazing. This looks beautiful, and the gameplay is heart.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah.
Great first endorsement.
One of the things that I actually really like about what you guys are doing with this is it's kind of a reboot, but it's not just here's a reboot of one. It includes features from other Ratchet & Clank games as well, so it sort of takes the best from all of the series.
That's it. Yeah, we've made a lot of these games at this point, so we were able to pick like what is the control scheme that worked best. So yeah, do you remember back in Deadlock? That's what we did. Oh, we had this great Weapon in the Future series that we want to, upgrade and like bring back to this title. So we've been able to just pull from all over the place. Things like even the weapon upgrade system. We brought in the RPG-like weapon upgrades to this game. If you go back and play the first one, that wasn't a part of it. That's something we found out much later as we worked on the title. So kind of, again, bringing all of our best stuff into this one's been the thing for us.
Yeah, this looks fantastic.
It looks great. I gotta say that, like, especially for people, when you play games, people like this guy on Twitter, Tree of Life, was saying it's an important chunk of his childhood. People want to be able to share those experiences with other people, and games have this unfortunate thing where you can't always recapture the magic of playing the original game because graphics have moved on and expectations have changed.
Yeah.
So when you see something like this as an update to the original story, with updates both narratively and graphically, it allows them to share that experience with other people in a way they haven't been able to before. And I know that's a lot of talk here at E3 with some of the other titles that have been announced, like Final Fantasy VII Remake. So it's really going to be a really cool experience. I'm looking forward to experiencing Ratchet and Clank for the first time.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And I mean, for people who are experiencing it for the first time, it's a great way to kind of learn about these characters and their origin and how it all comes together. For people who have been playing Ratchet and Clank all along, there's a lot of new stuff here. It's tons of new real estate. I mean, Planet Gaspar, for example, James started out playing through a segment that you will recognize from the first game. It's the Blarg refinery, but as you play through, you get brand new gadgets. The level opens up, and it's got even a brand new structure relative to the first game, where it's this kind of like open world, like get out and explore segment that's much, much bigger than anything we could have done with the original.
One of the things that Insomniac did really well with Sunset Overdrive was you made it feel like it was an open world, except it was sort of, it was a platformer and kind of linear, and it's the same here. I wanted to see what you guys thought in terms of level design. Do you feel like it's a more linear or open world, or are you going for a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. Like Ratchet & Clank is a whole lot about kind of choosing which planet you want to visit next. And we do some funneling to the player so that we can kind of maintain a narrative that has all the beats that we want to hit.
Of course.
But at the same time, there are places like here where the world just opens up completely.
Yeah.
So James can go anywhere he wants to in the level right now with a jetpack, and he can decide what order he wants to take on the setups and which enemies he wants to attack and kind of where he wants to explore.
Well, you know, YouTube is a huge community of creators, and Insomniac you're based out of North Carolina. There's a lot of people that always ask, you know, how do I get involved with this? How do I get started? Do you mind, it's a question a little bit out of left field here, but what steps would you recommend for somebody wanting to get involved in video game development?
Yeah, well, so first, we are based in North Carolina for part of Insomniac, but this one is actually a cross-country collaboration, like both studios. Like, we've joined hands like a bunch of crazed hippies and like lovingly touched every pixel of the game together. But anyway, to your real question, like, for people who want to get in and get started with this, I always say, like, study the classics, go back, play games, diagram them, show us maps you've put together, pay attention to our internships when we make postings for summer internships and apply for them. You know, go to school, major in whatever you're most interested in, but if you can bring it back to game design and kind of demonstrate, like, that you understand how to put a level together and can really analyze, that's what we're looking for to get started.
And a lot of times people get started, I mean, I'm not a video game. I got started in video game careers by just playing and enjoying video games. And then my aspect of play that I enjoyed most was then telling stories and making fun things happen, and that led to my career in video games. So it's like that the time you spend early on playing games and finding out what you like, it's time well spent.
That's how we all started. I mean, it's, you know, you get obsessed with it by playing it, and you learn to notice things and see patterns, and that's how you start to build up the skills. And a lot of people start out in QA departments as well. Like, if you can get a job testing a game, that's a great way to start out. You'll learn so much about how game development works, and, you know, about how you can, like, get in and figure out what you're best at and what you're really passionate about doing.
Yeah. Well, if Joel, if you're ready, we're gonna see if there's. No. Oh, Joel's not ready. He's wandering by. Okay, well, don't forget, you can talk to us. Joel will be up in a second to take your questions from Twitter. You can use the hashtag RTE3, or you can follow and send a message to @YouTubeGaming. It's the new Twitter account for the just recently announced YouTube gaming platform. They'll retweet if you send pictures to them as well, memories of E3 or what you're most looking forward to the show. Be sure to send that on Twitter to @YouTubeGaming.
And in the meantime, while Joel's getting set up, I'm going to pretend I'm Joel.
Oh,
A
okay.
little bit of thunder.
You got to put on a more nasally voice.
Far curlier hair,
I'm going to need to do my hair, right. Kevin Sagawa, which is at Apex Predator 212, asks, what kind of weapons and unique things did you bring back?
So in terms of weapons that we've brought back, you'll see the Predator launcher is back in a big way.
Happen to have
The
that rocket
Groovatron, which is always a favorite, is back.
Homes in on enemies.
Mr. Zircon is back in
shoots out, homes
spouting
on
platitude ways, and insulting all of the enemies.
The trailer.
So yeah, there's a good chunk of the weapon arsenal is made of some of the classics and the weapons that we know we'd all like our fans to see again in Ratchet and Clank.
Did you have a lot of fun designing new ones too?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the coolest things we get to do. Sometimes, you know, we'll be at a whiteboard brainstorming, and we just look around on the development team, and that's when we say, I can't believe we have this job. I mean, what a crazy fun thing to get to do.
I would imagine there's a decent portion of the development team that started off as fans of Ratchet and Clank, like games that got them involved in gaming, then they get to work on it years later in their career.
And a lot of people that came to Insomniac, you know, like myself included, who are huge fans of Ratchet and Clank and have played, you know, the original games before I ever started there. I think, you know, for a lot of people, it was really exciting to work on this game because you get to go work on kind of the origin and the original part of the game. And so there's so many people that came to Insomniac because of Ratchet. There's many people like Chad who have been there the whole time. But, you know, I think the vast majority of folks, you know, came at some point to Insomniac because they loved Ratchet and Clank so much.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for coming on, and thanks for showing us Ratchet and Clank. We know there's not a release date for the game yet, but the movie comes out.
Yes, the movie's out April 29th, 2016, and the game's out in spring 2016.
You can expect it sometime probably around that date as well. Okay, Joel Rubin, what do we have from Twitter?
Hey guys, we have a ton of Ratchet and Clank questions for y'all, and some also general E3 questions as well. A lot of people are wondering, I wasn't able to hear the stream where I was. Can you talk a little bit about the new weapons that are going to be in the game?
The new one.
I actually just put in a special ask for the rocket launcher we saw in the trailer, which is he fires a bunch of rockets and they all home in on enemies. You were just firing it earlier.
Yeah.
You think you can bring that up? There,
Yeah,
there.
got it right
That's
there.
the one. That's the one.
It's a Predator launcher.
It's a Predator launcher, yeah.
Yep, it locks onto multiple enemies and then you unleash it. So.
Yeah, the Predator launcher is kind of a returning favorite that's gotten a really significant facelift. Like, it's doing a much better job of homing in on enemies these days.
And then the pixel gun, which is another one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, and every enemy in the game, even the bosses, can be pixelized. So it's kind of it's a fun thing to experiment on as you see a new enemy to try and pixelize them for the first time. The same thing with the Groovatron. You know, every enemy in the game will dance. So if you throw this guy, he's gonna get up here. He's gonna be dancing.
Nice.
He's gonna do some break dancing on the floor here and rolling around. Like,
all right, Joel. Anything else?
Aaron David Kelly on Twitter wants to know, will HD collection ever come out? It's a big part of his childhood, and he would love to play some of the older games again.
yeah, so there is an HD collection on PlayStation 3, and then I believe those HD versions even are on PlayStation Now. I think that's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
But are they on PlayStation Now?
Yes, I believe
yeah,
so.
I think
so
they are.
The
When will then be now?
what?
When will then be now?
Now.
Bruce gets it. What happened to then? You missed it. When?
James in the middle of playing.
Sorry. I really like
You want another one?
Spaceballs.
Hopefully that is your question. I guess the answer is go back and play your PlayStation 3, or look on PlayStation Now.
Okay. Here's another question, if that's cool. I can hardly hear you guys.
Bring it on. It is
Juan
E3.
Apollinaire1 wants to know, will we ever learn more about Orvis or the rest of the Lombaxes?
That's a popular question.
Is that you'll have to play the game to find out?
Yeah, that's yeah, you could say that.
Well, that's what Ratchet is, right? He's a Lombax.
Ratchet's a Lombax. He's an orphan, and we're still wondering what's happened to the rest of his people. But the main thing I can say about this one is that it really is a retelling of the bones of Ratchet and Clank's origin story. So, you know, Ratchet's an orphan Lombax on planet Velden. Clank is a defect from the Warbot factory. Clank escapes with some valuable information. He meets Ratchet for the first time, and the two of them team up to stop Chairman Drac. So all the basics are there, but the way we fill in the gaps, the turns that the story takes, that's all brand new, and it's kind of a new way to experience how everything gets started with the series.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Everybody, thanks to Insomniac Games for coming by and showing us Ratchet & Clank.